Have you ever stopped in the middle of a crowded street, surrounded by the noise of traffic and the rush of strangers, and felt a sudden, piercing sense of unreality? A feeling that the life you are living, the job you go to, the name you answer to, is merely a costume? Deep within the silence of your own being, there is a whisper that tells you there is something more. A script written in invisible ink, guiding your steps before you were even born. You are not just a biological accident floating on a rock in space. You are a story. You are a myth in motion. And the characters that populate your dreams, the heroes that make you weep in films, and the gods that our ancestors worshipped in stone temples are not dead. They are alive. They are breathing. And right now, they are living through you. Welcome, soul traveler, to the great theater of the human psyche. Today, we are not merely discussing psychology or history. We are embarking on an archaeological dig into your own soul. We are going to unearth the ancient forces that Carl Gustav Jung called the archetypes. These are the invisible architects of your destiny. Whether you are struggling with a lack of purpose, fighting a battle against addiction, seeking a lost love, or trying to build an empire, you are unknowingly reenacting the timeless dramas of Hercules, Odysseus, Gilgamesh, and Isis. In this extensive guide, we will shatter the illusion that your struggles are personal and unique to you alone. They are universal. We will decode the hero's journey, step by step, and reveal the specific mythic hero that is currently active within your mind. By the end of this journey, you will no longer be a pawn moved by unseen forces. You will hold the master key to your own narrative. You will understand that you are the hero with 1,000 faces. To understand where we are going, we must first understand the terrain. We must look at the map drawn by the great explorers of the spirit. Imagine for a moment that the human mind is like an iceberg. The tip, floating above the water, is your conscious mind. It is the part of you that makes grocery lists, checks emails, and worries about the rent. But beneath the dark, freezing waters lies a mountain of ice. This is the personal unconscious, holding your forgotten memories and repressed emotions. But if you go deeper, to the very bottom where the ice connects with the bedrock of the ocean floor, you reach something vast and shared. This is what Carl Jung called the collective unconscious. The collective unconscious is not something you develop. It is something you inherit. Just as you inherited the physical structure of your lungs and heart from millions of years of evolution, you also inherited the structure of your psyche. It is a cosmic library, filled not with books, but with instincts, patterns, and symbols. These patterns are the archetypes. They are the riverbeds through which the energy of your life flows. When a riverbed is dry, there's no life. When the water flows too fiercely, there is a flood. Our goal is to learn how to navigate these waters. Let us begin at the beginning. The journey of every hero and the journey of every human soul starts with the same archetype. It is the beginning of the tarot deck, the 0 point, the dawn of consciousness, the innocent. Before the trauma, before the heartbreak, before the weight of the world settled on your shoulders, there was a time of unity. The archetype of the innocent represents the Garden of Eden state of the psyche. It is the golden age described by Hesiod and Ovid. In this state, there is no separation between you and the world. The child believes that the mother and itself are one. The innocent believes that the world is inherently safe, that authority figures are benevolent, and that if you simply follow the rules, you will be rewarded. Reflect on your own life. Can you remember a time when you trusted blindly? Perhaps it was in your childhood, or perhaps it was at the beginning of a new relationship or a new job. You felt an unshakable optimism. This is the energy of the innocent. It is beautiful, yes. It provides us with the hope necessary to exist. But in the eyes of the esoteric masters, the innocent is also dangerous. Why? Because the innocent is asleep. The myth of the Garden of Eden is not a story about disobedience. It is a story about the necessity of consciousness. Adam and Eve live in paradise, but they are unconscious. They do not know good from evil. They are like pets in a golden cage. For the soul to evolve, the apple must be eaten. The rule must be broken. The innocent must die so that the hero can be born. This transition is often painful. It arrives as a shock. It is the betrayal by a parent, the infidelity of a partner, the sudden loss of a job you gave your life to. It is the moment the scales fall from your eyes and you realize the world is not safe, the world is not fair, and no one is coming to save you. This brings us to the second great archetype, the shadow of the morning, the orphan. When we are cast out of the garden, we do not immediately become warriors. We become orphans. The orphan archetype is the wounded realist. It is the part of you that feels abandoned, betrayed, and victimized. It is the energy that asks, why is this happening to me? In ancient Greek tragedy, this is the figure of Philoctetes, the hero left alone on an island with a festering wound. In modern cinema, it is the young Harry Potter sleeping under the stairs, or Frodo Baggins realizing the Shire is no longer safe. You might be in this phase right now. If you feel a deep sense of loneliness, if you feel that the system is rigged against you, or if you are grieving a loss that seems impossible to bear, you are walking the path of the orphan. Our culture tells us to hide this pain, to put on a happy face, but the ancient mysteries tell us otherwise. They say, feel it. The orphan is a necessary initiation. Without the orphan, we would never develop independence. If the mother and father were perfect, if the world provided everything we needed, we would remain eternal children. The pain of the orphan forces us to look inward for strength. It is the cold wind that forces the seed to crack open so the roots can find the earth. It is here, in the dark night of the soul, that the call to adventure is heard. Joseph Campbell, the great mythologist, identified this as the call to adventure. The call is rarely a fanfare of trumpets. It is often a blunder, a chance encounter, or a disaster. It is the burning bush that Moses sees in the desert. It is the white rabbit that Alice follows down the hole. It is a dissatisfaction that gnaws at your bones, telling you that you cannot stay where you are. Most people refuse the call. This is known as the refusal of the call. We cling to our safety. We build walls of distraction. We scroll through social media for hours. We eat food we do not need. We drink to forget, all to silence the voice that says, leave this place. But the refused call does not disappear. As the myths teach us, a refused call turns into a curse. The biblical story of Jonah illustrates this perfectly. Jonah is called by God to go to Nineveh, a city of chaos and sin, to speak the truth. Jonah refuses. He runs in the opposite direction and boards a ship. What happens next is not punishment. It is a law of physics of the soul. A storm arises. The chaotic energy Jonah tried to avoid manifests externally. He is thrown overboard and swallowed by a great whale. He sits in the belly of the beast for 3 days and 3 nights. This is the state of depression, the state of being trapped in the dark because we refused to move toward the light. If you feel stuck, if you feel swallowed by life, ask yourself, what call did I refuse? What truth did I run from? To escape the belly of the whale, to rise from the status of the orphan, we must activate a new energy. We must summon the fire. We must awaken the warrior. The warrior is perhaps the most misunderstood of all archetypes in our modern society. We often equate the warrior with violence, aggression, and war. But in the sacred traditions, the warrior is not about killing others. It is about mastering oneself. It is the cultivation of the will. In the Hindu epic, the Mahabharata, we find the supreme example of the spiritual warrior in Prince Arjuna. On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjuna collapses. He sees his teachers and cousins in the opposing army and refuses to fight. He is paralyzed by compassion and fear. The god Krishna, acting as his charioteer, reveals the ultimate truth to him. He teaches him that the battle is an illusion, but his duty, his dharma, is real. To refuse to fight is not peace. It is cowardice. Krishna urges him to stand up and fight, not out of anger, but out of detached service to the higher order. This is the essence of the warrior archetype in your life. It is the part of you that sets boundaries. It is the force that gets you out of bed at 5 in the morning to train your body when your mind wants to sleep. It is the courage to say no when everyone else is saying yes. Without the warrior, we are defenseless. We are like a house with no doors, open to every thief and predator. When the warrior awakens in your psyche, you begin to crave discipline. You seek challenges. You realize that, as the philosopher Heraclitus said, conflict is the father of all things. You stop avoiding difficulty and start running toward it, knowing that resistance is what builds strength. The warrior transforms the pain of the orphan into fuel. He says, I was hurt, yes, but I will use that hurt to become unbreakable. However, every archetype casts a shadow, and the shadow of the warrior is terrifying. When this energy is not guided by a higher purpose, it becomes the villain or the bully. It becomes the obsession with winning at all costs. It becomes the boss who destroys his employees, the partner who needs to dominate every conversation, the nation that wages war for resources. This is the warrior, disconnected from the heart. If you find yourself constantly angry, seeing enemies where there are none, or viewing life solely as a competition to be won, you are possessed by the shadow warrior. You have become Ares in his madness, drunk on blood. To balance this fire, the psyche requires water. The warrior must learn to lay down his sword and open his chest. He must encounter the next great archetype, the lover. When we speak of the lover, do not limit your understanding to romance or sexuality. Although these are powerful expressions of this energy, the lover is the archetype of Eros. It is the principle of connection, of union, of sensory aliveness. If the warrior is the energy of separation, distinction, and boundaries, the lover is the energy of flow, merging, and empathy. In the ancient myths, the hero often meets a figure who softens his heart. Odysseus meets Circe and Calypso. Dante is guided by Beatrice. This is the meeting with the anima or animus, the soul image. The lover archetype teaches us that we are not islands. It forces us to face the terrifying vulnerability of needing another. The lover lives in the senses. It is the part of you that weeps at a beautiful sunset, that savors the taste of wine, that feels the texture of silk. It is the aesthete and the poet. Without the lover, the warrior's life is cold, gray, and mechanical. A life without the lover is a life of duty without joy. But the path of the lover is fraught with danger. The shadow of the lover is the addict. When we cannot find union within ourselves, we seek it desperately in the external world. We become addicted to relationships, to validation, to substances, to anything that gives us a fleeting sense of wholeness. The shadow lover is the drama queen, the seducer, the one who loses themselves entirely in another person, forgetting their own mission. The lesson of the lover is to find the beloved within. It is the alchemical marriage of the masculine and feminine energies inside your own soul. When you can look at the world with eyes of love, not out of need, but out of overflow, you have mastered this level. You become magnetic. You attract not because you are grabbing, but because you are radiating. As we move deeper into the journey, the stakes become higher. The hero has left home. He has suffered. He has fought. And he has loved. He has achieved success in the material world. He has the career, the family, the reputation. And yet, a strange dissatisfaction begins to settle in. The trophies on the shelf look like hollow pieces of metal. The applause of the crowd sounds like noise. He stands at the peak of the mountain and realizes he is still empty. This is the midlife crisis. This is the spiritual awakening. This is the emergence of the seeker. The seeker is the archetype that questions the very fabric of reality. It is the scientist, the philosopher, the mystic. The seeker leaves the known village of dogma and tradition to venture into the forest of the unknown. In the legend of the Holy Grail, the knights leave the round table to search for the sacred cup. They enter the forest at the point where it is darkest, and there is no path. This is crucial. You cannot follow someone else's path to enlightenment. As the profound teacher Jiddu Krishnamurti said, "Truth is a pathless land. The seeker is driven by a thirst for something eternal." This is the energy that leads you to read books on Hermeticism, to practice meditation for hours, to travel to distant lands, to watch videos like this one. You are looking for the source code of existence, but the seeker must be careful. The shadow of the seeker is the perfectionist or the eternal student. This is the person who reads every book but never lives life. The person who climbs one spiritual mountain gets bored and runs to the next. They are addicted to the search but terrified of the finding, because to find the truth, you must be willing to let go of who you think you are. And this brings us to the most fearsome, the most avoided, and yet the most essential of all archetypes, the gatekeeper of transformation, the destroyer. In the West, we fear death. We hide it in hospitals and funeral homes. We worship youth and permanence. But the ancients knew that life is a cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. You cannot have one without the other. In the Hindu Trinity, we have Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer. Shiva is not evil. Shiva is the compassionate force that destroys the universe when it becomes stagnant, so that it can be born again. The destroyer archetype enters your life when a structure has outlived its purpose. It is the sudden illness that forces you to re-evaluate your life. It is the bankruptcy that destroys your ego. It is the divorce that shatters your heart. In the tarot, this is the Tower card. The lightning strikes the tower of your false identity, and everything comes crashing down. When the destroyer knocks on your door, our instinct is to panic. We try to hold onto the crumbling walls. We bargain. We scream. But the Hermetic wisdom teaches us the art of surrender. The destroyer is not taking away your life. He is taking away your illusions. He is pruning the dead branches so that the tree can grow higher. This is the process of metamorphosis. Think of the caterpillar. When it enters the cocoon, it does not just grow wings. It completely dissolves. It turns into a genetic soup. It literally dies to its old form to become the butterfly. If you are in a period of chaos, of loss, of total confusion, know this: you are in the cocoon. You are being liquefied. It is painful, yes, but it is the only way to fly. The shadow of the destroyer is self-destruction. It is the urge to destroy oneself through addiction, through sabotage, through suicide. This happens when we resist the natural process of change. We turn the destructive energy inward instead of allowing it to destroy our false masks. After the fire of the destroyer has burned away the ego, what remains? What rises from the ashes? Two powerful figures emerge from the smoke, ready to rebuild the world: the creator and the ruler. But before we meet them, we must traverse the subtle realms of the magician and the sage. The magician is the archetype of consciousness itself. The magician understands the connection between the inner world and the outer world. He knows the secret of the emerald tablet: as above, so below. The magician does not work hard. He works smart. He uses the laws of the universe, mentalism, vibration, polarity, to manifest reality. In modern terms, the magician is the innovator, the visionary, the inventor. It is Nikola Tesla visualizing his motors in his mind before building them. It is the healer who understands the flow of energy in the body. The magician takes the chaotic raw material of life and transforms it into something of value. He is the alchemist turning lead into gold. But the magician is dangerous. Of all the archetypes, this one walks the thinnest line between light and dark. The shadow of the magician is the manipulator, the trickster, the propaganda master. This is the person who uses their knowledge of human psychology to exploit others. It is the cult leader, the corrupt politician, the deceptive marketer. They have the power, but they lack the heart. To keep the magician in check, we need the sage. The sage is the keeper of truth. While the magician wants to change the world, the sage wants to understand it. The sage is the objective observer, the wise old man or woman who has seen it all. They are detached from the drama. They value truth above comfort. The sage within you is the voice of intuition that whispers when you are lying to yourself. It is the part of you that can step back from a heated argument and see the bigger picture. In a world drowning in information, the sage seeks wisdom. But the shadow of the sage is the dogmatist, the judge who sits in an ivory tower, criticizing everyone, but never getting their hands dirty. The person who mistakes knowledge for wisdom. We have traversed the landscape of the soul. We have seen the fall of the innocent, the pain of the orphan, the fire of the warrior, the union of the lover, the quest of the seeker, the death of the destroyer, the power of the magician, and the clarity of the sage. But the journey is not over. In fact, the most crucial part remains. How do we integrate these fragments into a whole? How do we become the ruler of our own inner kingdom? And how do we bring the treasure back to the world? In the second part of this guide, we will explore the final stages of the hero's journey. We will discuss the archetype of the ruler, the king and queen within. We will delve into the creator, the one who births new worlds. And most importantly, we will give you the practical, step-by-step alchemical formulas to identify which archetype is dominant in you right now, and how to summon the ones that are sleeping. You are standing on the threshold. The map is unfolding. The shadows are whispering. Will you turn back to the safety of the known, or will you press forward into the mastery of the self? The choice, as always, is yours. We stand now at the summit of the lower mountain. We have traversed the valleys of innocence and pain, fought the battles of the warrior, surrendered to the embrace of the lover, and dissolved in the fires of the destroyer. But the journey is not a straight line. It is a spiral. As we ascend, the air becomes thinner, the light becomes brighter, and the responsibility becomes greater. We are no longer merely surviving the world. We are preparing to shape it. Welcome back to the sanctuary of the mind. In this final chapter of our exploration into the mythic heroes, we turn our gaze to the architects of reality. These are the archetypes that do not just react to life, but create it. We will meet the creator and the ruler. We will uncover the secrets of the alchemical marriage, the integration of all these forces into a unified self. And finally, we will hand you the practical tools, the rituals of the mind, to summon these forces at will. Let us step into the workshop of the gods, the creator. If the hero's journey is about finding oneself, the creator's journey is about expressing that self. This archetype is often misunderstood as belonging only to artists, painters, or musicians. This is a limited view. The creator is the archetype of imagination itself. It is the divine spark that exists in every human being. The capacity to bring something into existence that did not exist before. In Greek mythology, we see this in Prometheus. He did not just exist in the world of the gods. He shaped humanity from clay and stole fire from Mount Olympus to give it to his creation. He defied the status quo to innovate. In the Hindu tradition, this is Brahma, the dreamer who dreams the universe into being. The creator archetype awakens in you when you feel a compulsion to leave a mark. It is not about fame. It is about authenticity. It is the entrepreneur building a new system, the mother raising a child with conscious values, the gardener shaping a landscape. The creator asks a terrifying question. If I am not my past, if I am not my trauma, then who do I choose to be? To embody the Creator is to accept that you are a co-author of reality. The Hermetic principle of mentalism tells us that the all is mind. The Creator understands this instinctively. They know that a thought held with emotion and repetition must eventually manifest in physical form. But the path of the Creator is haunted by a relentless shadow, the critic, the perfectionist. This is the voice that whispers, "Who are you to create this? It is not good enough. You are a fraud." The shadow creator paralyzes you. It keeps the book unwritten, the business unlaunched, the song unsung. It strives for a perfection that does not exist in nature, and in doing so, it creates nothing but sterility. To master the Creator, you must make peace with chaos. You must be willing to create something ugly, something messy, something imperfect, and love it anyway. You must understand that the act of creation is an act of courage, not skill. And once you have created your world, you must learn to govern it. You must ascend the throne, the ruler. This is the culmination of the archetypal journey in the external world. The ruler, often symbolized as the king or the queen, represents order, sovereignty, and stewardship. In our modern world, we have a deep distrust of power. When we hear ruler, we think of tyrants, dictators, and corrupt politicians. But these are not true kings. They are shadow kings. The true ruler archetype is not about power over others. It is about power for others. Think of the legend of King Arthur and the Round Table. Arthur is not the strongest fighter. Lancelot is. He is not the wisest mage. Merlin is. But Arthur is the center. He is the one who holds the vision of Camelot. He ensures that the realm prospers, that justice is served, and that the weak are protected. The ancient belief was that the king and the land are one. If the king is sick, the land is barren. This is the myth of the Fisher King. In your own life, the ruler archetype is the part of you that takes full, radical responsibility. It is the energy that stops blaming parents, the economy, or bad luck. The ruler looks at the state of their finances, their health, their relationships, and says, "This is my kingdom, and I am responsible for its prosperity." When the ruler is active, you are decisive. You have integrity. You mentor others. You leave a legacy. But the shadow of the ruler is treacherous. It manifests in two forms. The tyrant, who controls out of fear, who crushes dissent, who cannot delegate. And the weakling, the abdicator, the one who refuses to take the throne and lets the kingdom fall into chaos. Are you ruling your life, or are you a servant in your own castle? Are your emotions running wild like bandits in the countryside, or do they serve the higher vision of the king? Now, we reach the most esoteric and profound stage of our work. We have met the cast of characters. We have seen the masks. But a fragmented psyche is a broken psyche. If the warrior fights the lover and the creator ignores the ruler, there is civil war within the soul. The goal of the work, as Carl Jung described, is individuation. The alchemists called it the mysterium conjunctionis, the mysterious union, the sacred marriage. Imagine a round table within your heart. At this table, all the archetypes must sit. The warrior protects the creator so he can dream in safety. The lover ensures the ruler governs with compassion, not just law. The sage advises the magician so that power is used with wisdom. The destroyer is given a seat, but he is not allowed to lead. He is only called upon when something needs to end. This integration is the secret of the master key. It is the realization that you are not any single one of these archetypes. You are the space in which they arise. You are the soul that wears these costumes. When you understand this, you are no longer possessed by an archetype. You use them. You can summon the warrior when you need to negotiate a contract. You can summon the lover when you come home to your family. You can summon the sage when you are in a crisis. You become fluid. You become like water, taking the shape of the vessel, yet remaining unchanged. So, how do we do this? How do we take this high philosophy and apply it to the grit and grime of daily life? Here are 3 practical techniques from the ancient archives to awaken and integrate these forces. First, the practice of the council. This is a meditative technique used by active imagination practitioners. Sit in a quiet place, close your eyes, and visualize a great room. It could be a temple, a cave, or a throne room. Visualize a table. Now invite your archetypes to sit. Visualize your inner warrior. What does he look like? Is he tired? Is he wounded? Is he shining? Ask him what he needs. Maybe he needs rest. Maybe he needs a battle. Then invite your inner lover. Is she starving for connection? Is she hidden away? Invite your shadow, the part of you that you hate. Ask it to sit. Do not banish it. Ask it, what is your message for me? You will be shocked by the wisdom that comes from these figures. They are parts of your subconscious mind, and they have been waiting for you to listen. This practice aligns the internal team. Second, the ritual of invocation. We often feel stuck because we are trying to solve a problem with our limited ego. When you face a challenge, stop and ask, who handles this? If you are terrified of public speaking, do not go on stage as you. Invoke the ruler. Before the event, stand tall, breathe deeply, and visualize a crown of light descending onto your head. Feel the weight of the mantle of authority. Adopt the posture of a king. This is not faking it. This is sympathetic magic. The body signals the mind. By adopting the physiology of the archetype, you open the channel for that energy to flow through you. If you need to study, put on the robe of the sage. Ritualize your environment. Light a candle. Create a boundary. Step into the role. Third, the transmutation of the shadow. You will find that certain archetypes trigger you. You might hate the weakness of the lover or the arrogance of the king. This is a sign of a golden shadow. We often project our unlived potential onto others. If you obsessively admire a celebrity or a historical figure, it is because they hold an archetype that is sleeping within you. If you intensely hate a trait in someone else, it is because that shadow lives in your basement. Instead of judging, use this as a compass. If you envy the creator, it is because you are pregnant with a creation. If you judge the warrior, it is because you have repressed your own capacity for self-defense. Reclaim the projection. Say to yourself, I am that. And finally, we come to the end of the hero's journey, the return. In the myth, the hero does not stay in the magical world. He does not stay in the cave with the elixir of immortality. He must return to the ordinary world. He must go back to the village that cast him out. This is the hardest part. Why come back to a world of sleepwalkers when you have seen the truth? Because the journey was never about you. The hero's journey is a cycle of service. You left the village to save yourself, but you return to save the village. You bring back the boon. This boon might be your art, your business, your kindness, or simply your presence. When you have integrated your archetypes, you become a living battery of high-frequency energy. You change the atmosphere of a room just by walking into it. You become a bodhisattva, one who is awake and vows to awaken others. The world today is burning. The old structures are crumbling under the weight of the destroyer. We are in a collective dark night of the soul. We are waiting for the rulers who serve, the warriors who protect, the magicians who innovate, and the lovers who connect. We are waiting for you. You are not the ocean. You are the ocean in a drop. The gods are not dead. They are waiting for your permission to speak. Look into the mirror. Look past the wrinkles, past the scars, past the fear. See the ancient face looking back at you. The call has been sounded. The threshold has been crossed. The master key is in your hand. Go forth and live your myth.